It's a celebration. We got big gifts coming in on TikTok. We got a chat that's already lit. It is March 25th, 2025, and the SEC is dropping their appeal against Ripple. That is why I am titling this episode here, XRP Survives the Storm. This is behind us. It is time to celebrate. Not worried about the fact that we don't have a big pump today. We're not here for a short-term pump, a one-day pump and dump. That's not what we're here for. And we've seen this in the past where great news comes out about XRP and Ripple and the price comes down. Now, the price isn't pumping and it's not really going up, but at least it held off here. We're at $2.45. Let me quick check, $2.46 as we start up this live session here tonight. I just want to say thank you for everybody for riding this one out. And really, I think you're going to be thanking yourself for riding this one out and taking advantage of XRP before it was going to be in the reserve deemed by Trump worthy of being added to our U.S. crypto reserves. Picking up XRP before the SEC officially confirmed that they were going to be dropping the appeal. And I've explained how some people really need their hand held. And this is why they miss on knocking it out of the park. And that's what we're here to do, is hit a grand salami, knocking it out of the park with a massive 5-bagger for most of us, bare minimum. In some of your portfolio on XRP is probably actually up 10x if you were stacking up 20, 30 cent XRP like most of us were. And so we took advantage of this opportunity when it wasn't popular, when we weren't in the clear. And when we approached the storm, we really had no idea. It hit us out of nowhere, right? The whole entire crypto space was just chugging along, coming out of a bear market. All through 2020, we were starting to build up and get some momentum, right? We had this massive drawdown in March of 2020. And then we started to build back up. And the sky was the limit. Stock market was flying. Crypto market was flying. And we were off to the races. We had survived the situation of March 2020. We had made it through. And we were off to the races with a level of stimulus and money printing that we'd never seen before. And this was a prime opportunity for XRP to break out into price discovery, for XRP DeFi to explode, for XRP ETFs to go live. But we were ahead of our time, and we didn't know that the SEC was waiting to pull a fast one on us here and sue us at the end of 2020 when we should have been going into that bull run. This is why we say that the damages are massive to the XRP community. Our good friend Jimmy Valley working on getting a little compensation. And it's important that we understand now this is all behind us. Now we can actually build. We should have been back at this point back in 2020, 2021. But here we are. We survived the storm. XRP survived the storm. You guys have made it here. And it's time to celebrate this fact, but then look ahead at how clear the smooth sailing's going to be, that blue sky ahead of us. This is XRP DeFi set to explode, institutional adoption, full regulations. It's the full green light. And yes, the SEC is going to be requesting the judge to lift the injunction against Ripple for selling XRP to institutional investors. This is what we want. Otherwise, if Ripple wasn't able to sell to institutional investors, they would be forced to sell programmatically to exchanges, which is basically what they were doing up until the third quarter of 2019. Now we know Judge Torres said that the programmatic sales to exchanges were not securities transactions, but the SEC was awarded this injunction by Judge Torres that was placed on Ripple against selling to institutions. Now Ripple had been making the case, hey, we know that Ripple had continued to sell billions of XRP while this lawsuit was going on. Why? How were they able to do this? Why did they feel comfortable doing this? Because they'd already restructured their contracts. This is not we don't have to overcomplicate this. They already restructured the contracts so that they weren't investment contracts. The injunction that the judge is about to lift off of Ripple and XRP for sales to institutions gives them the full green light. Nothing to worry about. We're not coming after you again. As long as you conduct these sales in a way that's not an investment contract, you're good to go. And that's where we stand with Ripple, XRP, SEC dropping their appeal, Ripple agreeing to drop their appeal. They're going to pay $50 million and get $75 million back. Now, 75 million might not be too much to Ripple, right? We laugh off 50 million. I call it a speeding ticket, traffic violation in the securities world. That's what they did. A speeding ticket, traffic violation. For all these people that said that they were fraudsters, XRP was a Ponzi scheme, a centralized Ponzi scheme, that Brad Garlinghouse was going to be put in handcuffs. Boy, were the fudsters wrong. Holy cow, were the haters wrong. I mean, they couldn't be any more wrong. And boy, are their portfolios probably hurting. Although we know that many of the haters and fudsters still have an XRP moonbag, but they couldn't have been more wrong on the facts here of this case and how it was going to play out. We had some of the biggest haters and fudsters saying that Ripple was going to pay nearly $1 billion fine. Remember, this total amount that the SEC was going for was $1.3 billion. And they end up only getting $50 million, basically completely embarrassed, surrendered the case in shame, and the lawyers that were in charge of this, George Tenriro, getting demoted to the IT department. I mean, I can't wait to see the movie that gets put together to compilate this entire story. And really, I was debating, what should I call this? The final chapter? And then I started thinking about, well, we've passed through the storm, so let's call this XRP Survives the Storm. What we're closing is the last chapter in the XRP Storm book, novel. And now we get to move on to building. Now we get to move on to this beautiful creation, this new financial system, the level playing field, and that's all we've ever wanted. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness on a level playing field. Now, I want to get into this update because we have so much to cover. And I'm going to show you guys some ugly data points. I wanted to start with a little excitement, get a little rant going, because I got some ugly data points to cover. But it reiterates the point as to why XRP is not blasting off, the crypto space is not blasting off. The key word that you heard Jerome Powell say at his press conference last week was uncertainty. People are uncertain. There's still a lot of people that don't think that the case is over. And there's some people that they have to wait for mainstream media to tell them for them to believe that it's real. Once again, why do they never knock it clean out of the park? Because they're not willing to take risk. And that's going to be a mistake for their portfolio. And you're now seeing how well this played out for those of us who didn't listen to the naysayers, who had conviction, did the research on XRP. And yes, you could have waited for the official headlines. Yes, the SEC's leaving Ripple alone. Yes, XRP's in the clear. And you could come in now and you could feel safe, right? You could, we can feel safe investing in XRP. The problem with this is your ability to acquire XRP just got about 5 times more difficult, meaning XRP went from 50 cents to $2.50. You're acquiring a lot less XRP. You are not being rewarded for making the safe bet, which I think is a broader metaphor for how we see this in life. And so let's zoom in right now on this economic data. Let's get some of these ugly data points out of the way. The key theme is uncertainty, and this is why we're not off to the races. People still don't believe that the case is over. Mainstream media isn't covering it. Charlie Gasparino is still blowing smoke up your you-know-what, up Ethereum and the Ethereum gang's whole story and narrative that they crafted that the Ethereum decentralized test was established by Bill Hinman. Literally, Charlie Gasparino today is citing the Bill Hinman speech, and now XRP meets this decentralization test. This is what we're up against in the media. And folks are wondering, why isn't it pumping? Why isn't it moving? I want the banks to buy my bag. I want the institutions to buy my bags. Well, they are coming. And I'm going to show you later in this update that they're going to be coming in a massive way. We're already seeing, I pointed out in this morning's update, how one ETF, one ETP, if fully capitalized, 21 million shares from the 21 shares XRP ETF. They have 8 million shares allocated so far. If they do the full 21 million, each share is backed by 30 XRP, physically backed XRP trusts and ETFs. That's what this is. One share equals 30 XRP. Now, I got my notepad right here because I showed you guys the math this morning. For those who missed it, check this out. This is one ETF, 30 XRP behind each share. There's 8.4 million shares. That's 253 million XRP already locked up in just this one XRP ETF. That's a quarter of 1% of the entire XRP supply already. But what did I say? They have 21 million shares that they could potentially issue. Each share is backed by 30 XRP. Quick math, that would be 630 million XRP if they issue all 21 million shares. That's 630 million XRP. That is over half of 1% of the entire supply of XRP for one little ETP over in Europe. One ETP over in Europe, not to downplay it, I'm just saying, one ETP over in Europe, all before we unlock the US market. And what did Brad Garlinghouse tell us yesterday? We are underestimating the US market unlock for being able to come into digital assets. Why did Brad come out last week and say that the case was over? Why did Stu come out today and say that the case is over? Because they want to signal to their partners, their banking and institutional partners, that this case is over, you have nothing to worry about. Because a lot of folks are going to be waiting for the official headlines to come out, and I'm going to show you the updated timeline from Fred Rispoli. He thinks that this could still take 30 to 60 days to get the official notices from Judge Torres, to get everything worked out, and to get the official sign-off, the last document that I can add to my red folder. The last document that we can add to the red folder, it still might take 30 to 60 days. So why are Brad and Stu trying to get out in front of this? Because they're ready to unlock the US market. You should be ready to spread the gospel, the good word about XRP, right? What are you doing to help get XRP adoption, right? I see a lot of comments of people saying, nothing's going to happen until we get laws and adoption. Okay, what are you doing to spur adoption? Did you tell somebody today about XRP? Did you tell a friend, family member? Did you blast the normies on Facebook with some XRP content? Light them up. Family group chat. Hey guys, have you heard about XRP? What did you do today to spread the good word about XRP? I'm asking you right now, chat. Because people want to sit back and complain. People want to sit back and do nothing. And where did that get us over the past 4 or 5 years? Absolutely nowhere. No development, no adoption. People thought XRP was going to be in this lawsuit forever. And that's why we were stagnant at 50 cents and under $1 for years. And so now is the time to get activated. You can tell your friends and family the XRP's in the clear. You know it's not a security, and we're out of this SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. See, before when you would tell people about XRP and you would tell them about this lawsuit that they had going on, a lot of people wanted to shy away and not get involved. Well, that's no longer an excuse that somebody could use to not want to get into XRP. And so what are we doing today? I know that I'm max engaging. Are you max engaging? Or do we have some whiners in the chat? Do we have some complainers in the chat who can sit and tweet, type up little crybaby posts? But are you spreading the good word? What are you doing to get adoption? Are you building on the XRP ledger? Are you ready to invest in some of these businesses that are being built around the XRP ledger? There's an incredible amount of opportunities coming to us this year. And it's time to lock in, be ready to conduct your due diligence, because you're going to have DeFi platforms all the way to the traditional institutional players that are trying to get your XRP and your assets right now. It's time to lock in. We got a lot to cover. I'm going to get right on into it. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Real quick, the hats are now available. We got the camo, we got the white. That's in the Richardson 112 trucker hats. We got more on the way, okay? We got the Yupung snapbacks, and we got the Flex Fit for the big noggins. It's all on the way with more collections as well too. We're going to do some other fun stuff there. So I wanted to plug that up real quick with the rest of our community resources. Without further ado, let's get into it. Check it out. Economic data, it's absolutely ugly. Let's get through it quickly. U.S. Philadelphia Fed survey sector activity down negative 32.5. The previous was negative 13.1. This is the largest drop since April of 2020. Key theme, uncertainty. What about the real estate asset class? Well, we have 500,000 new homes for sale. Last time we had this many was December of 2007. The hunt for 570,000 is on. This is what we're looking at right now, guys, in the real estate market, a level that we have not seen since December of 2007. Take us on back. Some of you guys probably remember. It's beginning to look a lot like 2008, says Nick Gurley, at least for home builders. I took this picture outside a home building site 45 minutes north of Tampa. They had over 20 vacant spec homes completed for sale and are advertising 0% down mortgages to try to move the inventory. Right here from LGI Homes, you got new homes, 0 down, come on in. What do you say? For those of you guys that have been around, you remember the signs. I mean, we're going to look back at this moment and we're going to say, more people are going to say, how did we not see this? And we're going to say, well, you weren't tuned in to Zach Rector. You didn't get his live shows. You didn't tune in and get the full update. No, he wasn't just spreading XRP hype. He was actually breaking down the economy and what was taking place as well. That's why we got to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay up to date. How's the program working out? The probability of a recession is approaching 50%, Deutsche Market survey finds. Fear is here. Buckle up. Recession is coming from Darth Powell. What chart are we looking at right here? U.S. layoff announcements spiking to a level that we haven't seen since 2020, the great financial crisis, and the dot-com bubble. The signs are all around us, and we are looking at a global margin call, which is why I'm going to share this next data point. It reiterates the fact that we've been saying we're going through a global margin call. Japan carry trade is the spark, but it goes further. Foreign investors are now selling U.S. stocks at a record pace. Foreign investors withdrew $6 billion from U.S. equity funds last week, the third largest amount on record. On only March 2020 and the March 2023 banking crisis saw bigger weekly outflows. This coincides with about $4 billion of inflows into European stocks over the last 4 weeks, the most in 10 years. However, foreigners still own about $16 trillion of U.S. equities, near an all-time high. This reflects about 23% of total U.S. stock market's value. Sentiment continues to see rapid swings. And so some folks might not even want to be selling off U.S. equities, but the reason why is because it comes back to that global margin call. And you're starting to see that some central banks like the Bank of Canada have started to cut rates. It's not bringing any relief. And so for the time being, up until April 2nd here, Liberation Day, like I've been saying, I'm expecting downside, sideways, chop, uncertainty. Liberation Day goes live. External Revenue Service goes live. Are we going to get any further guidance on the upcoming tax day, with reports now suggesting that the IRS is going to collect 10% less this tax year? And that might be conservative from what I'm seeing. 500 billion shortfall is what they're expecting for the revenue on the IRS. And so all of this happens on April 2nd with tariffs going live. And there's literally people out here who think that tariffs are the end of the world. Just today, I had to go to Home Depot, and we did a couple other errands with the family. And I'm driving down the freeway, and off to the side, I see a protest. And they're in just a random spot on the side of the freeway. Like, it wasn't even a good spot to protest at. If you're going to protest, this is the worst spot to do it at. It's just like a random spot along the freeway. And I have bad eyesight, so I could barely see what the sign said. But wifey read off a couple, and it had to do with immigration or something like that. And I'm just thinking, you got all these people out here who literally think that the world is coming to an end right now. The comparisons that are being made of what people are suggesting that Trump and Elon are doing are just ridiculous and actually disgusting. Really, they really are. The comparisons that are being made for Trump and Elon and other people within the administration are completely out of line. And today I'm driving by and I'm just thinking, what do they think they're accomplishing? Right? We want to enforce the law. That's all we're asking to do. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness on a level playing field. That's all we're asking for. And for a little bit of law and order. That's all we're asking for. And I was driving through town the other day in my nearby liberal metropolis, and I drive by the courthouse randomly. I was just out and about doing a couple things. And I drive by the courthouse and I see a couple of protesters out there, and I, okay, let me turn one real quick, and I drive by, and there's 3 gals holding up a sign that says Elon's a fascist or something. I'm like, what do you think you are accomplishing? How is that program working out for you? Now, the reason why I bring this up is because this is why people aren't ready to ape into crypto. This is why people are hoarding cash. This is why foreign investors are selling US stocks. This is why American investors are selling US stocks. There's a lot of fear out there. Now, I've been concerned about our economy going back since 2022. In my opinion, that's when it was time to be uncertain and have some fear about our economy. Now, fast forward to where we're at right now in 2025, I'm still concerned about our economy. Don't get it twisted. I still am concerned. But am I going to live in fear? Am I going to go out and wave a sign that says something silly? That program's not going to work out for anybody. And it's not going to stop what's already in motion. And just like Elon Musk said on the Joe Rogan podcast, show me one line item that you disagree with. For all the people that are in uproar, outrage. Oh my gosh. I mean, I went to go start up my TikTok live. I went to go start up my TikTok live for this show tonight. And the first TikTok on my feed is some gal crying. They're dismantling the Department of Education. And I swiped out of it in 2 seconds to get away from that silly stuff. But I'm just, every time I look at TikTok, somebody's crying about something. It's just crazy. And the point that I've been trying to bring it back to, don't fight it, right? Do not fight the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. Get on the right side of it. That's the point that I've been trying to bring home. And now you're starting to see it play out. President Trump just ordered all FBI files in the Crossfire Hurricane, aka the Russia hoax, to be declassified. So now we have this, we have the JFK files, we're going to get the MLK, we're going to get some more coming out about the other situation that I don't like to name the name. You know what I'm talking about, crimes against humanity. And once again, does anybody want to speak out against this, right? Does anybody have one line item? I guarantee you. Now, I only didn't stop and go report live on the scene of those protesters because I had the family in the car and I wasn't going to go there. But what would happen if I went down the line of those protesters and asked them, just give me one line item that you disagree with that Elon and Trump are doing? One line item. Can you provide that? Nobody can. Nobody can. Because it's all silliness. It's all fraud. Now let's get into the good stuff here. President Trump has signed an executive order directing the U.S. Treasury to upgrade its payment system, aiming to curb fraud, waste, and abuse with a modernized, efficient approach. Take a listen.
I have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are, I believe, 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments. This is an executive order that's going to push the Treasury Department to modernize its payment system to ensure that where possible they're using electronic methods of payment as opposed to paper checks in order to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, which is obviously an endeavor that we've been pursuing in numerous aspects of government under your leadership.
It's basically modernization of equipment and methods, and it's something that really I think he's going to be a great Secretary of the Treasury wanted, Scott, and so we're doing this, and we have other modernization programs going on. We could let somebody else, whoever's next, whoever that may be, do it, but it's something that should have been done 25, 30 years ago.
Also, I don't know how it takes the president so long to sign. That must be a long signature, man. He's going for like 10 seconds straight. Who's going to help him? Modernize this payment system, right? We want to update it, the methods, the technology behind us. And we know who's been working with our government for years. There's very few players, actually, that even belong in the room with President Trump and our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, working on such things, right? And when you have a former treasurer of the United States, the 43rd treasurer of the United States, Rosie Rios, joining the board of directors at Ripple, they might have been able to come up with just a few ideas for updating our payment system, right? Now, I'm going to take you to this next point, and we're going to hammer this one home, because if you actually listen to the press conferences, right? See, for me, I don't get my news from Fox Business, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I listen directly to President Trump give a speech, give an interview, take questions from the press. I listen to Elon Musk directly. Very difficult listen. He is not a talker. I mean, the way that he speaks, it's a tough listen, but I still listen to Elon directly. Okay. Howard Lutnick, also a tough listen. He's a storyteller, right? I mean, I think I like listening to myself talk. Howard Lutnick likes listening to himself talk, okay? But I listen to the All In podcast, and I'm about to play a clip here of Howard Lutnick explaining a partnership with the government where you give software, where you give potentially assets, where you give value, you give services and products to the government for free. And I want you to listen closely after we just saw an executive order signed by President Trump to modernize the Treasury Department. And now you're going to listen to Howard Lutnick explain. I forget what the exact term is, but he's going to state it here real quick. Take a listen in on this, and then I'm going to explain how this possibly relates to XRP, Ripple, and the idea that I've had, and I explained to you guys, and I took a lot of heat for it because a lot of people did not like this idea about Ripple giving XRP to the Treasury Department for free. But listen to Howard Lutnick, and then we'll bring it back.
Got up and he walked out, he comes back and he sits down, he goes, Howard, this meeting is, right? That's what he says. He goes, this meeting is, and we sit down and we map out the plan. I tell him what a gratis vendor is.
Yeah.
Because I was not going to go into the government. I was doing transition.
What is a gratis vendor?
A gratis vendor is an approved vendor for the United States of America that gives product to the government, doesn't sell it.
Okay.
So therefore, I don't have to go through the whole process of becoming a proper vendor because you're giving it to us. And then if you give it to Article 2, which is the president's stuff, then the president can accept it, right? Because it's give.
Sorry, Howard, what's an example of this? Like just to make
I write some software.
You write some software.
I write some software for the Commerce Department to do a better job of XYZ. You just give it to me. And then I do QA on it, and I can take it. If you sell it to me for $1, we go into government hell.
Right, the whole rigmarole.
Right, but if you give it to me, right, and then I set up, so I said, I'm calling it Doge.
So he was explaining the beginning of Doge, but the point here, the gratis vendor, this term that he just stated and explained for everybody. Maybe this idea that I had about Ripple giving some XRP to the Treasury doesn't sound so far-fetched now, does it? And actually starts to make sense, right? Because once you have the government, buy it for $1, and there's nobody else that's going to speak out louder against our government spending taxpayer dollars to buy Bitcoin. That's me. But on that thread, on that note, I am not expecting the US government to buy XRP from Ripple or buy XRP from me, anything like that. But what I've suggested is that Ripple can be in a partnership with the Treasury Department. They can help them modernize the financial system, help them modernize the Treasury Department, but they can give some XRP to the Treasury, and we don't have to go through any of the rigmarole of going through, the Congress, of going through what it takes to have the government actually buy XRP, right? And Ripple has some XRP to give. We know that. And the exposure that it would bring XRP would be the net positive. A lot of people are saying, that's ridiculous. Why would we ever give it to them? Well, here's the caveat. We only give our XRP, or Ripple gives their XRP to the government, after we see some accountability, after we see a balanced budget, after we see a solution for the debt crisis, after we see a solution for the liquidity and currency crisis. I don't think that Ripple should sign off and give them some XRP right now until we've proven that there's a real plan to reset, restructure, and revalue. We have to fix the debt, currency, and liquidity crisis. Until then, I don't think we should give them anything. But if we can see that we're moving in that direction, if we can see that we're going to have a dollar that's still going to be accepted as the reserve currency around the world, and in fact, we know XRP could actually help bolster that, then that's when a deal would be ripe for the taking. And so I really think that, we got to be open-minded here, and we got to see President Trump, until I see anything to contradict President Trump's statement, he said that XRP should be in the U.S. crypto reserves. Full stop. Now, the executive order named that Bitcoin was only going to be in the reserve, other assets were going to be in the stockpile. That's a technical nuance that doesn't matter to me. Is the government going to get XRP or not? President Trump said yes, it belongs in the reserve. As you see on my shirt, President Trump said very clearly, XRP first, that it will be in the U.S. crypto reserves. How does it get there? I don't know. But this idea of Ripple giving it to the Treasury for free is not that far-fetched, as you've seen Howard Lutnick explain in that previous clip. Now let's continue on. We still got a lot to cover, and I do want to get to Q&A because I know people have a lot of questions here today. Okay? If you haven't already, please make sure you like this video. Please make sure that you've shared it out far and wide. TikTok, if you guys could help me out by tapping that screen, sharing the stream. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now we got a few more things to cover here before we can get to Q&A, so I'm going to keep it moving. John Deaton is doing an update on Link2. He says that Link2 has not responded to my email. I have received several emails and DMs from folks who are understandably concerned and pissed off about the lack of communication. Many Link2 customers, me included, joined the XRP class against the SEC in the Ripple case and provided several of the affidavits I submitted to the court. Now, I have to stop right there. What exactly did the 75,000 holders sign on to? Because it was represented as a class action. As he states right there, an XRP class. What I am interested in is John Deaton in the middle of doing anything for those holders and for those that have been damaged by the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit? I think it's good that he's going to look into Link2 here. That's great. But he once again calls his group the XRP class. The XRP class. One would assume that would mean that you're part of a class action. But what is the status of this? I don't know. And so I'm honestly just asking, right, what is the status of this? Is John Deaton still pursuing this? Because I do know people that are. And they're suggesting $500 billion of damages, a compensation for damages to the XRP army. Now, I want to be very clear too. We are very early in the stages there of the XRP payback proposal that Jimmy Valley is working on, and I talked about in my video yesterday. I also want to be very clear about a couple things. For worldwide investors, I understand. The idea is we set the precedent, we set the standard. We can only do what we can here in our country. And then we can, give you the model, and then it would be up to you to have your fight in your country. And maybe some folks in the United States would be willing to go help investors around the world go bring something about. The problem with I see with that though is that this case was brought by the U.S. government. So why would a government somewhere else compensate their holders for something that the U.S. government did? That doesn't make sense. And another thing that I want to elaborate on is myself. People thinking that I want to get compensation for damages from the lawsuit. Although we were harmed, my XRP was harmed, your XRP was harmed, I cannot, from my understanding of how this would be done, there is no way really that I would be able to show that I took on damages because I didn't have to sell any of my XRP, and in fact, I continue to accumulate XRP. So thankfully, God bless it, I wasn't forced to do anything like that. But I know many people that were. And before you come and attack the proposal and want to get into the details of all of it, there's some people that are suggesting that it's wrong to be seeking compensation for XRP holders. And I'm just really confused about that, because that is a crazy take to have throughout this whole scenario, to be suggesting that honest XRP investors that had to sell off homes, had to shutter businesses, had to sell off XRP, who can show real damages done by the government, that they shouldn't make a case. And I don't think that they're the only ones. Other people bringing up other stuff and other issues, absolutely. But John Deaton, I'm wondering, what is the status of the 75,000 plus holders that signed on to his class? Is anything being done in that matter? I'm just curious. Now, I'm glad to see John is going to be looking into Link2 a little bit more. Many Link2 customers, me included, joined the XRP class against the SEC in the Ripple case and provided several of the affidavits I submitted to the court. This Thursday, March 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will hold a Zoom meeting to discuss what's likely happening, as well as organize. We fought together once before, we'll fight together again. Email my office or DM me if you want the Zoom link, only if you're a Link2 customer. So, if you want to tap in with that Zoom call, reach out to John Deaton. You can DM him or you can email his office at Crypto Law. And I would encourage everybody who is a Link2 customer and investor to go do so and to pursue this with John Deaton's help and with others' help and figure out what has happened here at Link2. I still believe that it is premature to comment. Maybe John Deaton has found some things. Seems like he hasn't gotten any response from Link2 yet. But we want to make sure that the XRP community is taken care of here in this situation. And I think a lot of people have been jumping the gun, but maybe in fact there has been some issues. And the main thing that we just need to know is the equity secured? Because as long as the equity is secured and all investors still have the rights to that equity, if you've invested in Ripple equity, well, that valuation doubled since the election. And I believe that it's ready to double again here in short order with the SEC versus Ripple case coming to a conclusion. This is Ripple's valuation moving up to $20 billion with XRP at $2.50. Just wait till XRP goes up to $5 and $10. That valuation exponentially grows from here. But I'm glad that John Deaton is pursuing this. Just curious what the situation is with the rest of the XRP holders that signed on to his class. I want to check some comments and questions right now. Yep. Pull out the red folder. Oh, I got the red folder. Zach, why don't you talk about them? Why a Ripple partner SBI isn't using RLUSD for their payments? They're using USDC. They're also not using XRP. Okay, that's not true. They are using XRP, and there's nothing stopping them from using RLUSD. SBI is not locked into only working with Ripple and XRP. So you can't just take these things and run with the most negative assumption. Oh my gosh, SBI is done working with Ripple and XRP. Couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, please grow up is what I would say to that response. Okay, please grow up. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. I see some super chats here too. Let me check the super chats real quick and then we'll proceed. Still got a few more things to cover here, but I want to get caught up here. Cowboy for 2010 spot. Appreciate you, Cowboy. God bless you. St. Louis Dave, thanks for what you do. Dave, thank you for the 2 spot. Appreciate you, my friend. Thomas Conservative 5 spot. Do not approach Democrat protesters. They don't know why they are there. I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to take that super chat, Thomas. Thank you for the 5 spot. I'm going to hold back my comments. Maybe I'll get into it after I take a few more sips of my adult beverage and we'll be ready to talk about that one. 1970 legend, Big Fitty spot from the legend in the house. Did you ever get any orders from Africa or South America? If not, do Europe and our future 51st state, Canada. Here's a 50 spot for you. 1970 legend, I'm still waiting. We haven't gotten any orders from Africa or South America yet. I've had some people ask though, and so I really don't try to pound this down your guys' throat every single episode. I try to just plug it in low key here and there, but yes, we do have international shipping, and I do want to make a note on that. We are seeing deliveries to Australia are taking 3 weeks to a month right now in some cases. So although we have international shipping, it's hit or miss. We send stuff over. One of my packages, it's been sitting in Australia for a week. It arrived in Australia, sitting there for a week. Some of our packages that we send to Canada, they get shipped off to California first. They sit in California for a week, and then they send it up to our 51st state up north. So if you are ordering international, we can get it to you. It's just going to take some time. So please reach out to us. merch@zachrector.com is our customer support. And if you have any questions, just reach out there. Once again, the email, merch@zachrector.com. We'll get all your questions answered, and we'll make sure to take care of you. If there's any issues, we'll take care of you. This is about taking care of the XRP family first and foremost. So yes, but 1970 legend, I appreciate you, brother. And yes, anybody who is international, we are live with it. and we'd love to have you taking advantage of the XRP family merch. Dennis, thank you for the 5 spot. XRP ETFs come after Judge Torres sign-off price. Screams, yep. Per Jake, separately, Ripple should give escrow to give Treasury 1 to 2 million. XRP divides. Yep. That's what a lot of people need. Is they need the official sign off. 100%. They need the official sign off. Stu, you're coming to Vegas. There you go. Yeah, I was debating on what I should bring down to Vegas. If I should just bring an old bundle of hats to give away, or some other things I could bring down there too. I'm going to see what I can do down there in Vegas. But that should be a good time. I'm really looking forward to that at the end of May. The countdown is on. Okay, back to it. Where do we leave off here? Okay. Yeah, okay, so we left off with John Deaton. Yep, and he's going to be on link 2. That's going to be this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys tune into that. Now, I need to take a sip of my adult beverage. It's getting hot. It got up to about 65 degrees up here in the Pacific Northwest today. Absolutely beautiful. And I think I'm going to have to get my AC set up because it's already cooking up here in my office. What day in May is Vegas? 30th and 31st. Okay. All right. This right here. This right here. Frankie J, thank you for the 20 spot. Pitching in for the adult beverage. Congratulations, fam. Frankie, I appreciate you. That's a big one. Really do appreciate it, okay? This right here, guys, is why I titled the episode XRP Survives the Storm. We are in the clear. This is over. This is done. Stuart Alderati with the official post. The final crossing of T's and dotting of I's, and what should be my last update on SEC versus Ripple ever. And I joked today, I said, what are us XRP content creators going to be able to talk about now that the case is over, right? I'm going to have to come up with something else now. No, I'm actually excited that we don't have to talk about this damn case anymore. Last week, the SEC agreed to drop its appeal without conditions. This is why Brad came out and said that the case is over. Some folks still need help doing 2 + 2 = 4. Some folks still need their hand held. Like Frankie said, some people are going to need to see that official document signed off by Judge Torres that this case is over. Now, this is why Brad said that the case was over, because last week the SEC agreed to drop its appeal without conditions. Ripple has now agreed to drop its cross appeal. The SEC will keep $50 million of the $125 million fine already in an interest-bearing escrow in cash, with the balance returned to Ripple. So far off from the $1.3 billion that the SEC was trying to get. $50 million is the final amount. Very far away from the $1.3 billion. But here's another interesting note, is that $75 million that's returned back to Ripple that they get to continue to use for M&A and business operations. That's $75 million cash that Ripple had already parked in an escrow that now comes back to them, and they get to deploy. Lock in, folks, because there's a lot more where that came from too. Okay, but that $75 million, that's a company, that's a couple companies. $75 million can be put to good use. Hell of a lot better than going to the SEC, that's for sure. The agency will also ask the court to lift the standard injunction that was imposed earlier at the SEC's request, all subject to commission vote, drafting of final documents, and usual court processes. Now, I predicted, and I am predicting, that the SEC is going to vote this Thursday officially to drop the appeal. We'll see if that's the case. We got an update here from Fred Rispoli on his timeline prediction. So he says, now we wait on a vote by SEC Commission. This will be less than 30 days. This Thursday, maybe, maybe not, but definitely within 30 days. Then we wait on filing by the SEC to lift the injunction, right? They have to request to the judge, please lift the injunction on Ripple selling XRP to institutions, which will be unopposed by Ripple. Judge Torres will sign off on it less than 30 days from the motion filing. So whenever the SEC files it, it should be less than 30 days that gets approved. At most, We are 60 days out from this being 100% formally, legally, and spectacularly over. My wife was making fun of me. She says my wife was calling me clickbait. Not only do I have to deal with some of you guys calling me clickbait, I got my wifey calling me clickbait. Why? Because I keep on telling her that the case is over. And she's like, I don't even know where we're at with this case anymore because you've been telling me that it's over. And I try to explain to her, yeah, well, Brad Garlinghouse said it was over. Now Stuart Alderoty's saying it's over, but they got to officially vote and then it will be done. And I'm trying to explain to her that, yes, babe, trust me, it is over, okay? We're about to be set free and running, okay? We won't have to be, I'll be able to take you to a date that's not the McDonald's Happy Meal anymore. You know what I'm saying? We might be able to go out for a nice steak dinner, hopefully soon. But wifey's just like, where are we at with this thing? You've been telling me that this thing's over for a while now. And finally, Fred Rispoli is predicting. And I'm just laughing because we've been talking about this damn case for 4 years. What am I going to be able to talk about next, right? We're going to have so much free space within our shows to talk about so much more. And I'm looking forward to that. I really am. All jokes aside, I'm really looking forward to that because it's time to build now. It's time to lock in. It's time to build out your checklist for doing due diligence on DeFi, on other coins, on other projects. It's time to focus up right now. But Fred Rispoli says, at most, we are 60 days from this being 100% formally, legally, and spectacularly over. CNN, MSNBC, mainstream news, CNBC bubble television is going to be able to report that the SEC versus Ripple case is officially over. And then we'll be able to hold the hands of those who didn't believe. We'll be able to set them up on an exchange, get them to buy some XRP. Now that it's safe, they didn't want to get it at 20 cents. They didn't want to get it at 50 cents. The dollar made us holla, but it didn't make them holla. They stayed far away from XRP because of this SEC lawsuit. And now that the case is officially over and XRP is going to be at $3, now they're willing to step in. That's okay. Better late than never. But what are we still up against? Fake news, Charlie Gasparino. ETH passed the decentralization test according to Hinman. My red folder's buried in my closet. Do I need to go get it out? My red folder's buried right now. I don't want to talk about the case. I would love to put away the red folder. I don't want to still be battling this fake news and misinformation from a Fox Business senior correspondent. We shouldn't be having to have this conversation, Charlie. Charlie. I saw John Dean having dinner with Charlie. John should have, I don't know, put him in a headlock or something. Give him a knuckle sandwich. Give him a something. Smack right across the face, man. I'm joking, right? You know, he should have poked him at least a little bit. You know, and this is why we say that the corruption continues and the damages are massive, because we're literally still fighting those trying to perpetuate this lie that Ethereum had some sort of decentralization test that was established by Bill Hinman as if this was some sort of legitimate decentralization test. And that's absolutely not the case. ETH passed the decentralization test according to Hinman. Gary Gensler, no case filed, which is not true. Consensus was served a Wells notice, so Ethereum was on its way to getting sued, or at least Consensus was. So that's not all the way true. And now Trump, okay. Now the SEC has ruled that XRP held by retail passes that same test. Not true. Judge Torres ruled that XRP was not a security, not the SEC. The SEC doesn't make rulings, Charlie. Charlie should know this. Left standing is that the XRP sold to institutions to build out Ripple violated security statuses because they were securities issued without proper disclosure. Ripple just paid a $50 million to settle the case. Sorry, those are the facts. Left up in the air is the clash at the Southern District over Torres' inconsistent ruling. No, it's very consistent. It's very clear. Charlie, you are the only one that can't get this through your thick skull. This is where legislation is needed. Well, legislation is needed for other cryptos. Legislation is needed on stablecoins and market structure bill. Legislation is not needed to clarify or codify what XRP is not, as far as not being a security. In fact, we have a ruling and a settlement with FinCEN, part of the Department of Treasury, back in 2015, that XRP is a virtual currency. So we actually don't need to wait around for legislation to give us that precedent. We already know that. And it has nothing to do with an Ethereum decentralization test. It's absolutely ridiculous that Charlie and others are still perpetuating this lie. Now, this is where it gets exciting, folks. For the rest of this update, it's time to lock in and get a little bit bullish. Like Brad Garlinghouse said yesterday, you might be underestimating this U.S. market unlock. Check out this next point I'm going to show you here. Check this one out right here. I said today it will be very interesting to watch the escrow releases and distributions going forward. Now that we know Ripple is in the clear to sell XRP to institutions, it's going to be very interesting to watch on the 1st of April and the days that follow to see what happens with that XRP being released from the escrow. We know that 1 billion gets released every month. Basically, for the past 4 or 5 years, they've been returning about 70 to 80% of that XRP back to the escrow. All these guys saying, and people were really confused with this morning's update, talking about the supply shock. Oh, Ripple has billions of tokens, da-da-da-da-da. Like, well, I can tell that you clearly didn't watch the video because my video was addressing how one XRP ETP could essentially lock up over half of 1% of the entire XRP supply. So the video was addressing how the escrow has a place to go now, which is institutional investors and ETFs. And what these ETFs are doing is they're backing their shares with physical XRP. And in the case of the 21 shares XRP ETP, it's 30 XRP backing each share. And they've already locked up 253 million XRP. If they fully realize that entire ETP with 21 million shares, they will lock up 630 million XRP. This is why, amongst many other reasons, why I'm talking about an XRP supply shock. But some people just don't get this. But we get to watch going forward how this XRP is going to be distributed from the escrow. Where is it going to go? It's going to go to ETFs. And how much is going to come into ETFs? Well, we covered when JP Morgan predicted 4 to 8 billion. Now we have Chris from crypto.com mentioning that same report from JP Morgan talking about 8 billion of inflows into XRP ETP. So let's let it run.
Next couple of years, I think altcoins that have strong flows will outperform. I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year. So you can imagine what kind of impact that may have. And in terms of what we're doing, I think
look up XRP market cap myth exposed, and you will watch a video where I break down this JP Morgan prediction, 4 to 8 billion of inflows. I take that 8 billion number, we slap on our multiplier, the market cap multiplier of 212. Why did I choose that number? Because it was a number that we had been seeing at times. Now, it was a more bullish and a stronger assumption. The average that I've been tracking on the market cap multiplier is anywhere from 50 to 200. But in this example, I used 200, 212 to be exact, and I slapped it onto that 8 billion of inflows. And what it tells us is that XRP's market cap is going to grow by over 1 trillion if we get those 8 billion of inflows. This is not a 1-to-1 ratio, and this is where so many people are confused about how market cap works and what and how market cap should be used for in your analysis. People are very confused about this. And so if you type into the search bar on YouTube, XRP market cap myth exposed, my update will pull up. And it's a whiteboard video that I did where I break down the math behind this. And with conservative assumptions, we would see XRP's market cap grow by about 500 billion. Okay. This would take XRP, right now, XRP's market cap is just shy of 200 billion. And so if we did get, the 8 to 10 billion of inflows, 50x multiplier, you're looking at 500 billion of market cap growth for XRP. If you go on the high side with our assumption and we say, well, that multiplier might be 100, might even be 200. With my assumption of 212, it was nearly 1.7 trillion of market cap growth for XRP, taking the overall market cap to 1.9 trillion, which would equate to an XRP price of $33 roughly, give or take, with an assumption that we're still at a 58 billion circulating supply for XRP. Now, if this XRP is going to be released faster from the escrow, that circulating supply is going to grow even faster, and that would actually take us to even higher prices because market cap is calculated, last traded price by supply gives you market cap. So if more supply has been released and we still get these inflows, that number could be even bigger. Now, the thought process and the exercise is to demonstrate with simple numbers, easy math for everybody to understand that it is not a 1-to-1 ratio. If we get 8 billion of inflows into XRP, XRP's market cap will not grow by 8 billion. Full stop. We've shown it time and time again. Now, is my assumption too bullish of 200? Yes, probably is. So we can roll with something more conservative, 500 billion, right? I've tracked it. I went over 1 month. For anybody who thinks that I'm just pulling these numbers out of my butt, it's not the case. I went through the whole month of November and I tracked every single day. What was the market cap multiplier? Went on days when XRP went up, on days when XRP went down. And what I saw was on average, days where XRP went up, the multiplier averaged between 50 to 200x. On days when it went down, it was closer to about 100. And in some cases, I even tracked it at 500 to 900x. Meaning that if a billion XRP left XRP's market cap could drop by not just 50x, but 100x, upwards of 900x. What this shows us, what this demonstrates to us, is just how easy it's going to be to move XRP. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Hone in right here real quick. This is the 21 shares, the final term sheet for the 21 shares XRP ETP. And what you see right here is 8.44 million products have been issued so far. But they can issue up to 21 million products specifically for the purpose of the admission and introduction to trading on the regulated market of Frankfurt Stock Exchange. So 8.4 million so far, but up to 21 million. Scroll on down here and you see the collateral is Ripple XRP. The amount per product is 30.8 and the weight is 100%. So this ETP is 100% XRP and each share is backed by 30 XRP. For those who missed my update earlier, and I also mentioned it earlier in this stream, here's where this gets exciting. Right now, with 8 million shares issued, they've locked up 253 million XRP. 253 million XRP has been locked up so far. If they fully realize this ETF, they could issue 21 million shares. That would be 630 million XRP being locked up for just one XRP ETF. Now, I said in my update earlier that there's 11 ETFs. Some people said that there's 19. When you include XRP ETFs that are going short, that are providing leverage, we are losing track. I mean, there literally is over a dozen. Brad Goinghouse cited about 11 in the Bloomberg interview, I think, that he did the other day. But the point being, you have over a dozen XRP ETFs on the way, and we're showing you right now with one ETP, if it gets fully realized, half of 1% of XRP supply is locked up just by this one ETF. Now, if you times this by 20, let's just round up to say 20, and each XRP ETF is locking up, a quarter of 1% or half of 1%. I mean, you're talking about 5 to 10 billion XRP getting locked up just through 20 ETFs. This isn't XRP that will be used by Ripple for on-demand liquidity. This isn't XRP that you and me, Joe Blows, have buried in our backyard. This isn't XRP that's being used in other DeFi protocols. This isn't XRP that's literally in liquidity pools for freaking meme coins. Do you see where this goes? People are spending XRP on meme coins. I'm guilty. People are locking up XRP in liquidity pools for meme coins. I'm not doing that, okay? I buy and trade the meme coins. I get in, I get out, I take my XRP and run. But some people are providing liquidity to these meme coin pools traded up against XRP. Some people, literally one guy just paid what? What was it? 20,000 XRP for one X punk? One XRP NFT. A pixelated picture of a punk. What was the number? Can somebody fact check me real quick in the comments? Some degen. Some crazy degen. Literally put 20,000 XRP towards an X punk. That's 20,000 XRP that can't go to an ETF, that can't be used for cross-border payments, that can't be used for derivatives, that can't be used for any other utility, that can't be used for DeFi, that me and you don't have access to, because some guy locked it up in a picture of a pixelated punk. We are approaching 20,000 pools, I believe is what I just covered in this morning's update from VED. 20,000 XRP AMM liquidity pools. Every day new meme coins are being made. You think it's stupid? I think it's stupid. But what does it do? It locks up more XRP. It burns more XRP. Let me check the chat real quick. Did somebody fact check me real quick on this? How much did that degen put on that punk? It was either 20,000 or 50,000, somewhere in between. Do you see where this goes? When one ETP is locking up hundreds of millions of XRP. That's where this is going right now. Blockchain bankers, you will be blocked. You will be dropped out of the chat if you keep on spreading fake information. Okay? Everybody knows that I'm not a shill. Everybody knows that I'm not paid by Ripple. For new people here who don't know, no, I am not paid by Ripple. I don't have any sponsors. Okay, so you will get kicked from the chat. I already told you to grow up. I'm going to just tell you one more time, final warning. We don't have time for your nonsense. Get your game up, please. Because most of the trolls, too, I would appreciate if you at least brought some game. I like talking smack. I like when people make fun of me, I laugh. I have a good time. I like a little give and take. I'm a big boy. I got thick skin. You're not going to hurt my feelings, but at least step up your game, please. The trolls are so weak. You know, the comments are just, there's nothing there. At least make it fun, please. Do a little bit better. I would encourage you. Either do better or we're going to kick you. It's just that simple, okay? Give us something to work with. For those of you who are wondering why XRP price isn't pumping on the news, here's what I believe is happening. A couple more data points, then we get to Q&A. Whales want to absorb supply without triggering a breakout. They do this by accumulating via OTC and in small spread out amounts. They combine this with short sell suppression to keep retail from pushing the price up. They want to discourage FOMO while they keep loading up. We've seen this before where XRP goes quiet for long periods of time before explosive moves. And remember, markets operate on what comes next, not what happens now. That means that today's news was already priced in, so it's not as shocking as it would have been, say, 5 or 6 months ago. The real move is utility when institutions publicly integrate XRP for payments and settlement. That's what the market expects, and that's what they're quietly pricing in right now. So it's a waiting game, and the way you play it is by front-running the institutions before they front-run you. Because when the move happens, it's going to be so fast and so sudden that most people will be left behind. Now, I do believe that a lot of this was priced in. I don't think that it was completely priced in. I mean, you did see that XRP did pump last week when Brad Garlinghouse put out the news that the case had settled. XRP did pump by about 14%, and we're still at higher levels than where we were at before that news was shared. So the price is up, the price is holding. But we are not here for a pump off of a news event. A pump off of a news event never lasts. And in many cases with Ripple and XRP, we've gotten great news and the price goes down. Now, I'm just glad to see that the price is holding, the price is trending up, and the structure remains intact. Now, I want to share a TA update before we go into Q&A right here from X-Force Global. Now, for those of you guys who missed it, X-Force Global is this new guy that I met on a Twitter space. And I basically just came across him. He was in a space, and he was sharing his analysis and the consensus and kind of the sentiment from investors in Korea as far as where they saw XRP going. And this is why I titled the video last week, XRP 20 to 40 bucks. Because this guy was speaking about how the consensus in Korea is that XRP is heading to 20 to 40 bucks. It's just a matter of time. Now, what he shares with us right here is his analysis on the targets ranging from 7 to 40 bucks. He says 2 ways of seeing it. We either have a slower route, but higher targets of 20 to 40 bucks, or we have a faster route, but lower targets, 7 to 10 bucks. The more that people hate on it, the more I love it. And that reminds me of a quote from Rick Rule. He said that he loves the hate. He loves to invest in asset classes, sectors, and companies that are absolutely hated by the masses. And that's what we did too with XRP. We were called crazy. We were told we should be institutionalized. We need to go off to the loony bin for investing in XRP. Now we don't look so silly. And now folks are starting to get impatient, wondering why XRP is not moving. What we want is a run for XRP that's based off of utility and adoption that's going to bring us up to 20 to 30 to 40 and have us sustain these prices and build a new foundation upon that. We don't want the news event to come about, XRP blasts off to $7, but then that's the end of this run. We don't want that. And so when I zoom in here on his chart, he shows this scenario playing out here where if we do get the longer duration, I mean, he still sees an ABC part of this wave 3 move, wave 2. This guy's big into Elliott wave analysis. And he actually sees us running up here to, looks like, what is that? Over $3. Basically $3.50. Looks like $3.94. Yeah, it looks like he has us going to about maybe $4, but then coming back down for one more correction below $2. Boy, would that be nasty. Boy, would that shake out a lot of people. But this is actually the more bullish scenario. It's a longer drawn out time frame because if we get distribution for a, what does that say? I can't even read that. Wave 1, 2. Then we can expect a high probability of wave 3. And that wave 3 is what's going to take us up in here into the 20s. Then we get a little bit of a correction before we blast off for a full extension upwards of 30 to 40 bucks. Versus if we got the faster route, we would be reaching lower targets. And that would mean that we're going up into that wave 3 right now. We get that wave 4 pullback, and then we get that wave 5 that takes us up to about $7, 7 to 10 bucks. And that would be the run completing for XRP right now. Now, I'm of the opinion that we still need to run up to $10 and get out all of the sellers that are looking to get out at that level before we can move up to 20 to 30 bucks, right? Which would actually kind of coincide here with this scenario that he has right here, where XRP blasts off here. This chart right here takes us up into the double digits, but then we do come back down to about, looks like $7, $8 before we blast off to 30 to 40. So this analysis would kind of line up with mine that we still need to go clear out all the people that are looking to exit at about $10. We get that out of the way. We bring in utility, we bring in adoption. This is what takes us to that $20, $30 and beyond. Okay. But the point of this episode here tonight was to reiterate that we are out of the storm. XRP has survived the storm. You and me and everybody else in the XRP family that's still holding, still here, we have survived the storm. And now we get to see what gets built out here within the XRP ecosystem, within the company Ripple. You're going to start to see these dominoes drop where partnerships are going to be going live. Institutions are going to be saying, yes, we did accumulate some XRP. Yes, we are making a basket ETF that includes XRP. Yes, we're making an index fund that includes XRP. Yes, we're making an ETF or an ETP that's physically backed by XRP. And each share is backed by 30 XRP, 50 XRP, 100 XRP. And very quickly, we start to see over the next 12 months, 12 to 24 months, I know folks want it to happen today. I know folks want it to happen this week, this month. But very quickly here, we enter into this institutional era of utility with institutional liquidity being present. This is what takes us to the high prices and helps us sustain the high prices. There's no way we do it just off of retail inflows. It's not going to happen. We need the institutions. We need the ETFs. Brad predicts the second half of this year the ETFs will be going live. This might be fast-tracked now. Now that we know that the case is coming to a conclusion. Paul Atkins is going to be confirmed here at the beginning of April, it looks like. This is well underway. With that being said, I want to go into Q&A. I want to catch up on our super chats. I did see we got a few in here. Really do appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you guys. I'm not being paid by Ripple, despite what some people claim. So I really do appreciate all of your support, whether you're using our community resources, getting the XRP family merch, or if you're dropping some chats in here. I appreciate you very much. But I do appreciate you for dropping it, okay? Dennis, thank you for the 5 spot. I'm in Vegas, not going to XRP Vegas. Are you holding a Zach group meetup away from the conference? Yes, Dennis, I am. Yep, we are going to have a Discord meetup. That's going to be the day before the conference. That's Thursday, March 29th. Me and wifey are flying in a day early so that we can have a meetup with the Discord family. Yep, it is going to be going down. And last year, we met up at a speakeasy, and that was a good time. That was a good time. I forget which one of you guys was feeding wifey lemon drops. You guys are, you guys are trouble, okay? Okay, I got to watch you guys in the XRP family, okay? I'm watching you guys, okay? Because that was good. It's good to get wifey a few lemon drops, but not too many, okay? We'll be watching you guys closely this year. Jesse, thank you for the 5 spot. Opinion on Ripple's pre-IPO offered to accredited investors this quarter on Start Engine. I've never heard of that platform, Jesse. What platform is that? I couldn't be more bullish on Ripple's equity. I couldn't be more bullish on Ripple IPOing. In fact, I put out a statement. On X today saying that it looks like, I said, let the Ripple Roadshow commence. And these companies go on what's called a roadshow before they go public, where they go around and they pitch investors. They get the word out. And I think that process is really going to ramp up this year. And I do believe that Ripple will IPO next year. And I also stated that they don't need to. They're not in a position where they need to IPO. They have plenty of cash. They have $75 million coming back to Ripple. So they don't need to IPO. But I do think that the plan all along has been to IPO in the United States. Brad is just kind of flexing on everybody by saying that, we're considering it. We're kind of focused on other acquisitions. That's what he said in the Bloomberg interview. And that's the posture that I like to see from Brad. That's what I want to see. But my opinion, my speculation is that underneath the hood, if you really got to sit down in the boardroom with Ripple and team, they know the plan all along is to IPO in the United States. And like I said, the valuation of Ripple doubled after the election. It's still grossly undervalued. The net asset value of Ripple's XRP holdings is over $100 billion, and the company's only valued at $20 billion. That math ain't mathin'. That's some Common Core math right there. And highly discounted valuation. And so I'm bullish. I have no idea about the company's Start Engine, but I am very bullish on Ripple, the company, their equity, and everybody that's invested in their equity. I think you're going to make a lot of money. I think that you're going to make out really well. Sandman, thank you for the 20 spot. As a newbie to crypto and to your channel, I want to say thank you. I've learned so much. That's why we do it. That's why we've been showing up every single day. During the bear market, during the good times, when we were under the storm. Now that we're out of the storm, we're going to celebrate, but we're going to stay locked in. We're going to focus up. We're going to have a good time, but we're also going to keep our head down and stay locked in keep our eyes on the target here. XRP is just part of this process of building generational wealth. Zach, you are attracting fudsters. We are close. They are very desperate. They couldn't be more wrong. Their portfolios are hurting. They are very frustrated with how we are dominating the news cycle, with how much attention we get effortlessly. The fact that Ripple doesn't have to spend a dime on marketing, yet they have the best marketing campaign in the ecosystem. They're very jealous of us. They have envy of us. We are humble as we approach them, respectfully trying to bring them up to speed, get them caught up to speed. But many of them choose to be disrespectful. Many of them choose to spread misinformation, and they're only hurting themselves in their portfolio. To each their own. We say good luck, God bless. If they don't accept our help, that's okay. Farewell and God bless to you. Hope it works out. That's an interesting name. Sequemaka. I probably butchered that. Sequemaqua. Thank you for the 5 spot. What do you think of the Riddlers and the 28th of this month's Delta? Keep doing what you're doing, mate. Let the haters hate. So, you want to speak about being jealous of the XRP community? I'm telling you right now, every other community wishes they had riddles, wishes that they had our conspiracies, wishes that they had such an interesting story tied around their asset. Nobody else does. And I got to mention, I have to laugh. And I laugh hysterically, actually, at this because I'm seeing Riddlers now in the Flare ecosystem. I saw that today. Some people trying to connect a few dots with Flare. It's some riddle tied to that, and I'm just laughing. And then, of course, the Proton boys, as I call them, they try to say that all the riddles actually relate back to Proton, that the riddles are not about XRP, they're about Proton. That to me is silly. As far as the Riddlers go, how many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible is the response I will say to that question, right? How many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible? All these deltas, all these riddles, all these connections. By the way, I love this shirt right here. This is the greenhouse. And the thing I love about the greenhouse right here, let me make sure you guys can see this. The thing I love about the greenhouse here is just a beautiful picture. One, the greenhouse vibe is just a vibe. But what you got right here is you got the bear just watering his sunflower, tending to his garden, minding his own business. This is what the XRP family had to do. We just tend to our garden, we mind our own business. But we also, you will notice the knight keeping the king out of the greenhouse too. We also had to fight. So we had some people fighting on behalf of the XRP family that allowed the rest of the community to sit back and water that sunflower. But I wanted to show you this. This is the Bearable Guy 2024 update that we got. And out of the castle, you see that hidden hand waving the white flag. Now, it's a big difference from the 2016 update that we got at the castle, where the hidden hand is holding the puppet strings and it's got the puppet under its control. So the hidden hand here controlling the puppet, that was 2016 when we first got that update. Fast forward to 2024 Christmas update. The hidden hand is waving the white flag. The path is paved of gold and purple. And the king has lost his crown. We are out of the storm. This right here is what the rest of the ecosystem wishes they had. They wish that they had all these riddles, these conspiracies, this story. And at the time, going through this lawsuit for 4 years, it was hell. The damages were massive. But the reward on the other side here is going to be absolutely glorious. Not only were we on the right side of history, but now we're going to appreciate in price, and we're going to be able to take care of our families, our businesses, and our communities in a way that we were never able to before. That's, why I find the riddles and the conspiracies and all this so interesting. How many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible? See, and this is the stupidity that we see from the trolls. Zach works for XRP getting paid from YouTube. No crap. I want to keep my words clean here. Duh. Yes. I get paid by putting out free content that people appreciate. And I only get supported by, people that enjoy my work. It's that simple. Nobody's forced to do anything. You're not forced to be here. But yet you find yourself coming back and back because why? Because we're providing analysis on the financial markets, current events, and on cryptocurrency that people appreciate. Yes, it's a very simple business. Not ashamed of it for one bit. Haven't taken one sponsorship check. Well, all these other little influencers, they needed that little check. And I've had some checks that have come across my desk that look all right. Rejected every single one of them. And I think that's what triggers so many people with me, is they've tried to dig. They've tried to come up. They try to come up with a bunch of different ways to get me. And they come up empty-handed every single time. TikTokers call me mega. Call me whatever you want. You can't say that the program's not working. That's the point that we take home. That's the point that we take to the bank. Now, let me refresh because I got sidetracked here. You got me excited with the riddles. You got excited with the riddles. You guys got me pulling out the pictures. I'm telling you, everybody else wishes that they had this. Twin Turbo, thank you for the 5 spot. Appreciate the Canadian. Appreciate it. 5 years to 5 digits. Let's go. That's what I've been saying, right? I started saying 5 years to 5 digits a few years ago, so we might be coming up a little bit short. Although, hey, I got to give a shout out to Jake. I was listening to Jake Claver last night. If you guys missed the interview that I had with Jake a couple weeks ago, go check that out. It was a good one. But I was listening to Jake last night. He was predicting $10,000 XRP next year. Oh my gosh, I could have dropped to my knees and praise God. Praise God. Thank the Lord that Jake is talking about 1,000 and 10,000 so that I don't have to. Because I get enough crap. I trigger enough people. I've backed off of the $1,000 and $10,000 XRP talk. And some people commented on this recently, I noticed. They said, I'm pretty sure that Zach stays conservative with his targets because he doesn't want to trigger people on YouTube. And that is true. Not that I'm, worried about triggering people because we do that just effortlessly as it is. But many people can't wrap their minds around $1,000 and $10,000 XRP. And let me be very clear too. I'm of the opinion that we get a currency reset before we get there. I used to talk about $1,000 and $10,000 XRP, but now I'm of the opinion that we get a reset, revaluation, restructure before we get there. That's the reason why we don't see $1,000 or $10,000 XRP price, is because a dollar as we know it today gets completely rewritten and reestablished. That's my opinion. Okay? It's not anything against XRP. I still do think that XRP is going to higher prices. I was taking a shower last night and I, got to throw somebody on, and I saw Jake was on. So, okay, let's tune in. And one of the first things I heard him say was 10,000 next year. I said, praise God. Thank the Lord. I don't have to talk about it. Okay. Where do we leave off? Ellie, thank you. Give me a wrench, Zach. I'll do the blocking. Yeah, we could get in. Maybe I should bring in a couple other mods. The thing is, though, as long as people are respectful, it's fine. You know, I always say, if you don't like it, smash the thumbs down for me and drop a comment. That's all we ask, right? Just max engage with us, please. Okay. What about the aliens? Yes, the aliens, they probably want some XRP too. I don't know how much XRP has been pre-allocated to the aliens, but if I had to wager, maybe a little bit. Okay? Dennis, thank you. The way we are under attack proves that XRP is the one. 100%. 100%. Okay, let's go rapid fire. I'm caught up on super chats. Thank you so much, guys. If you haven't already, please make sure you like this video, share it out far and wide, and let me get into the rapid fire Q&A because I saw that you guys had a lot of questions, and so I want to get into that real quick. Okay, where are we at? Yep. Yep. Yeah, Chris B, let me have the team reach out 6460. I'll make a note. We'll have the team reach out to you on that order. The thing about it, guys, like I said, we're having difficulty shipping international. It's just a crapshoot. It's kind of entertaining. I understand it's probably frustrating for you guys, and it's frustrating for us too because we want to get the merch to you guys as soon as possible. But it's like literally just like flipping a coin, you know, making a bet on when the delivery is actually going to go through. Because we've had stuff to Australia go through in a couple weeks. We've had stuff actually make it to Australia faster than it makes it to Canada. Make that make sense. I had an order right across here in BC. It took like 3 weeks because it went to California for a week and then it went up to Canada. And we have orders that went off to Australia that beat it first versus just 30 minutes north of me up here in Canada. I could have drove it to the guys faster than it took to ship it. So Canadian Postal Service is terrible. If you got, I mean, I'm probably preaching to the choir for the Canadians in the chat, but the Canadian Postal Service is terrible. We've had some stuff makes it to Canada, sits there for a week before it moves. So my apologies. We're doing everything that we can, but it's kind of out of our realm. Like we are getting our orders out in 2 to 3 days. So if you place an order in 2 to 3 days, it's pretty much going out in 99% of cases. So we're getting the orders out. It's kind of in limbo on some of this international shipping. It really is frustrating. And so my apologies. I wish there was something I could do, but we're trying to get it to you guys out there. Thank you for your support. Meet you at the border. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Who gets the first ETF approval? Good question, Byron. They will probably do it just like they did with the Bitcoin ETFs, where they went live with 11 on the first day. I expect the same thing to happen with XRP, where they'll go live with all of them first day. They don't want to give anybody a competitive advantage. So that's what I expect. Andrew, appreciate you. Appreciate you, my friend. Zeus, thank you. Thank you for the quality super chat. James Hall, pyramids tokenized on the XRP ledger. Well, maybe that came from the aliens talk. Yeah. Greg Kidd, he called it an intergalactic currency. I don't think that the aliens would be interested in Bitcoin, personally. I don't think that they would be interested in Bitcoin. What's the next deep dive? Flare and Zebek. Okay, I got the update on the Zebek coming, and I got an update on Flare coming. Okay. Dag getting lots of love. Yes. Tomorrow, the CEO, Ben Jorgensen of Constellation Network, which is the founder and creator of Dag, he'll be speaking at the DC Blockchain Summit. That's going to be tomorrow. So I will provide an update on that. And then I actually have Ben locked in next week for an interview. So the CEO of Constellation Network, founder, creator of DAG, we got him locked in next week. Okay? So I'm looking forward to that. Shan said we don't talk about Dark Horse here. No, we don't. And this is why I said that the haters and I call them the full-time fudsters. These guys that made a living out of fudding XRP. They couldn't have been more wrong. And I'm hearing, you can hear in their voices, they're like still whining and crying. They're so desperate. It's so bad. They fell off so hard. They're just gone. Just gone. Address private citizens question. What's that? What's private citizens question? Talk about how Brad said it would be 10 to 20 years before their partners were using XRP. That's not what he said. You took that out of context. Okay? That's not what he said. Yeah. Not what he said. James, that's okay. You guys clown me all day long for not buying HBAR at 3 cents or XDC at 2 cents. Please do so. Please do so. Actually, I don't know how low I picked up XDC. I might have picked up a little XDC at 2 cents. I'm trying to think of... I don't know what my average is on XDC. But I was late to HBAR, so you guys can clown me for that one. That's fair play. Fair play all day long. BitBoy is in jail. Just another day in crypto, right? BitBoy is in jail. The bottom is in. Man, honestly, on a serious note, I just can't help but feel so sad for his children and his wife, too. Every time I see him, I'm just thinking of his children. I'm just thinking, golly, man. Can somebody just take this man's phone away? Can somebody just stop this guy, please? For the sake of his children. I mean, if he's going to throw his life away, that's his choice to do. But on behalf of his children, goodness gracious. It kills me as a father myself. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Majestic, sorry, I almost missed a few super chats here. Majestic, thank you for the 8 spot there. Can they move all on-chain XRP into RLUSD and then revalue the price of XRP? Then RLUSD? No, that's not that's not the way that would work. So RLUSD only gets issued when there's demand for RLUSD. So basically, dollars are taken in by Ripple custody, the company Ripple, or their partners. So this would be exchange partners that have RLUSD listed. Those exchanges are going to take in the dollars, and then those dollars will be sent to Ripple, who will issue the RLUSD. And in many of these cases, these exchanges have already loaded up with RLUSD, just like they do with other cryptos. They're going to buy a supply of it so that they have it available for their clients. When that supply runs out, Uphold calls up Ripple and says, hey, we need more RLUSD. So then Ripple goes to the money printer, the money magic machine, and they're going to print another million or 5 million RLUSD, but they need to take in that collateral. They need to take in those dollars, which will then be rolled into short-term treasuries and or held just as dollars at Ripple custody. So every RLUSD that's issued is backed by a dollar or a T-bill equivalent. And so there is no, I've seen some people suggesting that there's ways to issue bonds backed by XRP that would revalue XRP at some price. What's the word that I'm looking for? The way that this gets done, you could do so, but you can't just set XRP at a high price without actually selling off those bonds and taking in that money to back the XRP price at that price. I'm probably not making full sense, but hopefully you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? You need to take in dollars for RLUSD. And to get XRP at a certain price, you need to be able to sell it off at that price to somebody. You can't just magically say, okay, XRP is at $10,000 now. You have to have a backing, or you have to have buyers. So you have to have backing, or you have to have buyers. It's just that simple. You can't just create a new bond and say, we're going to issue this bond, and this bond makes XRP $10,000. You have to actually back that, or you have to have buyers that are willing to buy that XRP at $10,000. But what happens here, and why the value of XRP and the XRP price goes up, is because as more value gets put on the ledger, the value of the ledger increases. But then most importantly, what's actually going to move the needle is the volume and the liquidity between those assets. So it's the liquidity between RLUSD and XRP that's going to increase XRP's price. It's the liquidity between tokenized gold and XRP on the XRP ledger that's going to move the price. It's the trading between those assets that burns XRP and increases the demand for XRP. As more issued assets get put on the XRP ledger, more people want exposure to those assets. What do they need? They need XRP. Because XRP is the native asset for the ledger, it's the best pairing for most assets. And so to get these assets, you're going to need XRP. This is what drives the price of XRP higher. It's not necessarily tokenizing $1 trillion worth of T-bills on the XRP ledger. It's not going to add $1 trillion to XRP's market cap. What you need to see is you need to see the liquidity between those assets. That's what's going to get price to move. And the perception is what gets price to move. This is why you've seen hundreds of millions of dollars tokenized on Stellar, yet Stellar didn't move in price at all. Stellar only moved in price once XRP started to move, and then Stellar just followed along. Stellar had hundreds of millions of tokenized treasuries and other real-world assets put on its chain. Price didn't move a cent. You need volume. You need liquidity. That's where the demand comes from, and that's what makes the price go up. Because people are willing to pay $5 for XRP because they want to get the real-world asset on the XRP ledger. People are willing to pay $10 for XRP because they want to get tokenized gold on the XRP ledger. People are willing to pay $100 for XRP because they want to go buy an XRP meme coin. Sounds stupid and far-fetched now. This is what's happening on Solana. People are willing to pay $200 for a Solana. Well, now Solana's come down substantially. I don't know what the updated price on Solana is, but it's far from $200. But people are willing to pay these prices because they want into the ecosystem. They want to trade a meme. They want to play in DeFi. They want to do something on that network. People are going to want to do things on the XRP ledger now that we're getting programmability and functionality. This is what's going to bring XRP price higher. Dennis says, somebody paid the trolls to be here tonight. I'm jacked. Yeah, it's good. It's good. We'll let them run it up for us. Just reading comments right now. Getting caught up to speed here. Oh, I did miss some super chats here. Buxom Blonde, thank you. People used to buy pizza with Bitcoin. Now look at it. Yep. Blonde Chick, thank you for the 2-spot. Dennis, thank you for the 2-spot. Appreciate you guys. Back to the chat, Q&A. Appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you like this stream here. This is why people are paying, a couple thousand for an Ethereum. People are willing to pay that. They're willing to pay the gas fees. People are paying over $100 for Solana. They're willing to pay the fees over there. They're willing to deal with a network that's going down all the time. What happens when you got a network that has no fees? Essentially, no fees. What happens when you have a network that has no downtime? What happens when you have a network that sources the best liquidity in the world? This is what you have on the XRP ledger. The broader space doesn't even know that the XRP ledger has a DEX, an AMM, NFTs, or memes. And they're definitely, if they don't know that we have that, then they're definitely not ready for the real world assets that are coming onto the XRP ledger right now. And the thing about it is, the pace at which our RWAs are going to come on the XRP ledger will far surpass these other chains, in my opinion. Just look at Ripple's stablecoin as an example. RLUSD is at a level now, just after a couple months, that it took Tether 9 months to get to. So in just a few months, RLUSD is where it took Tether 9 months to get to. So it's not just me saying this. The pace at which we are tokenizing assets and putting them on the XRP ledger is it's basically 3 times faster than Tether when you do that stablecoin comparison. And I think that you'll see a same correlation with other RWAs on the XRP ledger as well. All this stuff is 10 years out. You're mistaken. You're mistaken. Price action is not 10 years out. The tokenization process is not 10 years out. If you want to talk about XRP going to, big prices, maybe that could be 5 to 10 years out. You're going to get caught off guard if you're thinking that this is going to be 10 years away. Brad Garlinghouse just told us yesterday that we're underestimating the U.S. market unlock. Now, Brad predicted that we would be at a 5 trillion market cap by last year. We have some catching up to do. When will it hit $100? We could see XRP at $100 in a year. Over the next 5 years, I think it's for sure. Over the next 3 to 5 years, $100 XRP, I think is happening. 100%. Yeah. Now, I know everybody wants to hear $100 this year. It's possible. I don't rule out anything. Yo, Zach, can you do an analysis on XRP? Yeah. yeah, we do one every day. And I do believe that BlackRock will issue an ETF for XRP as well, too. Yep. Zach, please list 5 main reasons why XRP price will go up. Well, regulations passing is going to open up the U.S. market fully and completely. The case concluding is also going to provide clarity for everybody looking to get exposure to XRP before the regulations, which is a very important point to understand. For XRP, we don't have to wait around for regulations. Institutions and banks can know now, can have court precedent now that XRP is in the clear. Another reason why XRP is going to go up is RLUSD and other real-world assets getting tokenized on the XRP ledger. Another reason is the DeFi explosion on the XRP ledger. That's kind of the same point with RWAs and other tokenized assets, but furthermore, DeFi coming to the XRP ledger. And I think that you have programmability and functionality coming to the XRP ledger too, that'll provide, plenty of opportunities for XRP investors to get yield on their XRP. That's going to drive more demand for XRP as well. And the thing is we didn't have DeFi up until like last year when we finally got an AMM. Like we were so late to all this. Now it's time for XRP DeFi to explode. We're in the full clear from a legal standpoint. We're getting smart contracts and functionality coming later this year. This is all going to make XRP's price go up. There's also going to be a supply shock scenario play out for XRP as well. That also will make XRP's price go up. The demand will simply outpace supply. At a certain point down the road, there's an inflection point where the masses realize that there's way less XRP available for retail than we previously thought. It creates a supply shock scenario that really sends XRP rocketing. Remember when you said the AMM would make passive income, Zach? Yes, I do, and yes, it did. I made 75% on my XRP Casino Coin AMM liquidity pool. So yes, I remember saying it, and yes, I remember doing it, and I remember pulling my profits from that AMM liquidity pool a couple weeks ago. Try again. Okay? Yeah. Try again. Okay? Talk about the 589. 589 deals with the COMEX rule, 589. And you've seen the new standards with Basel III. You've seen how politicians on both sides of the aisle were freaking out about Basel III. This happened last year and even back to 2023. They were saying, see, look at this banking crisis. We aren't ready for Basel III. You had people on both sides of the aisle saying that the banks weren't ready for Basel III. That all goes back to COMEX Rule 589 and basically reestablishing this financial system. 589 represents the reset. 589 obviously serves as a good meme in our community too. But there actually is something there behind it. Yeah. Do I think that the ETF for BlackRock will be this year? Yes. Yep. Do I think that Trump will throw tariffs on April 2nd? Yes. It's not going to be the end of the world like some people are believing, though. Yep. Yep. What number are you okay selling with? I don't speak about my XRP exit strategy publicly anymore. I am selling a small portion of my portfolio, under $10, very small portion. But I won't speak publicly about anything else. No tax on overtime? Yeah. I think that they're going to roll out the external revenue service. They're going to roll out the tariffs. And I think that the end goal is to get rid of the IRS completely. Yep. Super chats here from Sequemaka, 5-spot. Thank you. Sorry for butchering your name again, probably. Zach, I guess people promoting Ethereum-based cryptos have never heard of ETHgate and what will happen once regulations come into effect. Well, and the problem is, too, you're in a dying ecosystem. You're in a lagging ecosystem. Not only is ETH lagging in price, we've seen the developers are fleeing Ethereum. Developers are saying that it no longer makes sense to be staking their Ethereum and validating the Ethereum network. And so at a time when you're seeing XRP developers are growing, Ethereum developers are dropping off. At a time when nobody wants to trade meme coins on Ethereum and Solana, XRP memes are picking up. And that's just a silly example. Buxom Blonde, thank you for the 5-spot. A lot of the ETF will have 10 to 100 each of XRP. So now you can see how they will have a supply shock. Thank you. A lot of people didn't understand this. Oh, there's billions of XRP. How could there be a supply shock? Because just one of these ETFs is locking up 600 million XRP potentially. Times that by 20. You're looking at over 10 billion XRP. Just with the ETFs. That's 10% of the supply. And it could be more, it could be less, but I mean, literally billions of XRP is going to be locked up in the ETFs over the next couple years. And from comments that we've heard, I mean, when I had Jake on my show, he spoke about his conversation with the CEO of Uphold, Simon McLaughlin. And I've had Simon on the show too. And I think he has great insights because not only is Uphold got a large XRP customer base, so they know how much XRP they have on their platform, but they're also tapped in with Ripple as an on-demand liquidity partner. So if anybody has an insight into how much XRP is available on the exchanges, the CEO of Uphold would have a good take. And I think the number that they said was about 5 billion or so. It's not much. Available on retail. Now, if XRP goes up to $10, you're going to see a lot of people come to sell. And so there will be more XRP made available for people to get. When XRP goes up to $5 and $10, you might have a billion XRP that gets, sold off. So there will be more available, but it's not 10 billion. It's not 20 billion. It's not 50 billion. The circulating supply of 58 billion is the biggest lie I've ever heard. It's not even close to that much. And when you've observed and watched how Ripple has delegated and distributed this XRP escrow, you start to see that unless they start to do some significant changes, they're trickling the supply of XRP out. They're dripping it out. And at the current pace, it would take years for all of the XRP to actually get out of the escrow. But we know from Ripple's own comments that they want to hold on to a portion of the supply themselves. So this is where we start to tally it up and we say, wait, there's not 58 billion circulating. There's not 50 billion circulating. There's not 20 billion circulating. There's not 10 billion circulating. There's way less XRP circulating. And this is where you have to look at, for a company like Ripple that wants to build out an on-demand liquidity network, they have to take a portion of their XRP and park it over there for on-demand liquidity. Now, is that a billion XRP? Is that 5 billion XRP? We know that Ripple has just shy of 40 billion XRP in the escrow. I think it's down to like 38 billion in escrow now. And they have about 5 to 10 billion XRP outside of the escrow that's free and available for them to use. So that would tell me that they have, probably 5 billion or less XRP in on-demand liquidity. At any given time, that XRP has to be set aside. Right? It has to be made available for liquidity. So you start to chunk this up and you say, wow, 5 to 10 billion XRP in the ETFs, 5 to 10 billion XRP in the on-demand liquidity network that Ripple is building out. This is just 2 use cases for XRP, and it's locking up, tens of billions of XRP. Very quickly, we start to tally it up and we realize, wait, hold up. Maybe I should have bought some more of this little XRP. And somebody just said XRP in cold storage is not circulating, and that's the point. Is that all of the XRP that's in cold storage, all the XRP that's been lost, it's all technically, considered circulating, but it's gone forever, it's lost, it's never going to be spent. I mean, how many people in the community are saying that they're never going to sell any XRP? Not one XRP. They're holding it forever. There's a lot of people in that camp, which is why XRP is going to go a lot higher. Philip, thank you for the 5 spot. Loved your interview with Jake Claver. He has a lot of insight into XRP. You should interview him often. Thanks and love from Texas. Thank you, Philip. Yep, it's always a pleasure getting Jake on. Had him on a couple times here. Appreciate what he's doing for the community. When did I first start investing in XRP? In 2018, I started investing in crypto. I started in Bitcoin, and then by 2019, I was going all in XRP. So it didn't take me long. Our good friends, Digital Asset Investor, Brad Kimes, were the first channels that I really came across. I also watched Kevin Cage back then. There's a couple others, but it was mostly DAI and Brad Kimes were the ones that woke me up out of my Bitcoin trance, help me sober up and see the light. And so I owe them a lot just for that alone. The Shane Ellis theory and the Zach multiplier are real. 100%, Dennis. Yep. Pray for an end of the wars. 100%, Dogwood. 100%. You got a currency like XRP, I think that really solves a lot of these problems and conflicts. Ooh, XRP came back down. Oh, no. You know, it's funny. I didn't even check the price today. Well, that's a lie. I don't want to lie to you guys. I did, but I checked it like once. I saw the news come out. I went and checked the price. Okay, it's not really moving. Okay. And I just went back to bull posting on Twitter. I was blasting X today. Blasting X today. When we get days like today, I hammer X. That's what we do. And I didn't spend any time looking at the chart. Don't care. We're not here for XRP's little pump off of some news event. That's not why we're here. We're here for sustainable growth, sustainable yield. That's what we're here for. Appreciate your grind every day, Zach. Hey, Josh, I appreciate you, my friend. Stop telling people who to pray for. Well, you better get right with somebody. You better get right with somebody. I'm not going to tell you who, but find somebody. You better catch a vibe of some sort. Because the evil's real. That's why I say that. If you're wondering why I say that, it's because the evil is real 100%. So I'm not going to tell you who to pray for. But I will tell you, I will call out the evil for what it is. So find something. Yeah, so I can't wait for April 2nd. I cannot wait. Guys, we have such a massive month of April coming up. This is going to be a big one. Paul Atkins will be confirmed. The case will be over. What else do we have? Any free shipping to Australia? Dodge AU. Yes. We have one order remaining for free shipping to Australia. So lock it in. Take advantage of it. For the Aussies in the chat, free shipping is now live. There's only one more order for a free shipping giveaway. But if you beat me to it, you might be able to lock in your free shipping on your order. And yes, the hats are now available too. So I saw some people, as soon as we went live with the hats, I could tell some people were waiting. And your guys' support is amazing. Yeah. Yep. You know, and we have to take we do have to take a second to realize too what XRP just did. Right? Pumping 500% is nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah, I know we want a lot more. I know we're here for $1,000 XRP. But there's nothing to be ashamed of holding an asset that just did a 500x in a couple months. And now it's consolidating, 30% below that $3.40, whatever it is. Let me go to my chart real quick. Excuse me. Tonight, I am sipping on the Modelo's with lime. That's where we're at right now. See? So we're 28% below. 28% below that $3.40. Right? So it's completely normal when an asset pumps 500%, almost 600%, by the way. About 589% to be exact. Literally, for the memes. XRP, basically right before the election, to that $3.40 is about 588%, but I just round up to 589 for the culture. And there's nothing to be ashamed about when an asset does that and then is down by 28%, consolidating within that range and building structure for the next leg up. Nothing to be ashamed about with that at all. No XRP beanies yet. They are on the way. We probably won't roll out the beanies till later this year. Do you guys wear beanies during this time of year? Maybe we should get the beanies out sooner. We were trying to get them out for last winter, and we couldn't get it all dialed in. But by next winter for sure. But if I listed the beanies now, would you guys be interested? Yes. Look at that. Nana Jewel says, receive my packages in Australia. Sincere thanks to 1970 legend and to Zach. Nana Jules, I'm glad that you were able to take advantage of it. XRP window decals. There we go. There we go. 600% is life-changing gains already, to be honest. Yeah, Esco, and that's where I'm at too, right? I mean, we invested so much in XRP that just this move alone has been life-changing for us. And we are feeling incredibly blessed with just this move, but very excited for what's coming down the road too. When you see that we've done this without all of the bullish catalysts that we have lined up, I mean, how could you not be excited? The only people complaining are literally people that are new. That's really all I see, is people that are new here, who've only been in XRP for the past couple months, who bought in over $2, and there are some people that are being impacted by the broader economy entering and approaching a recession, and so that's weighing on folks too. So I understand that, and I have sympathy for that too. I understand that, I mean, golly, I was talking about recession when it was not popular in 2022. I was putting out my recession to-do list and warnings. That's when it was time to put out the warnings. Now, when everybody else is, now, when the masses and everybody is getting bearish and it's the end of the world, now's when I'm strapping in, just like I do my little ones, get them in the car seat, lock in, we're going for a ride. Going to be a good one. He was in the documentary. Oh, did somebody comment on the documentary? Yeah, we need that documentary to go viral. I got to get an update from Chris and Maya. on that documentary and where we're at with that. We got to get that one going viral. Any other final comments and questions as we wrap up this session here tonight? I really do appreciate everybody for stopping by. Yep. Have I read The Great Taking by David Webb? I have not, but I know the premise behind the book. Very important to understand. Yeah, I probably should read that book, though. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Speakeasy, thank you for the 2 spot. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the support tonight, guys. Final comments and questions. It is cooking in my office today. These lights that I roll with, they're too bright. They get the heat going. It gets cooking in here. I get myself worked up. I get so worked up that I forget to take a sip of my cold, cool adult beverage in my nice Stanley mug. It's kept nice and chill. Before turning, yeah. Yeah. Would love to hear about your pullout technique next video. I'm going to assume that you're talking about XRP take profit. I'm going to assume that that's what you're talking about. But like I said, I can't speak on it publicly at this point. We're too far along. We're right there. We're right in this. And yeah, I've just saved that for my private group. Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for stopping by. On the way out, if you haven't already, please make sure you like this video. We have all of our community resources available at zachrector.com, and I have quick links down below in the description as well. I'd encourage you guys to check out what we got for the XRP family merch. If you are interested in that, we have more on the way. We have international shipping now available, so take advantage of that. Right now, we've got these hats available, the XRP family patches, and I have more hats that are going to be added to the website this week, okay? So we have more on the way. I have more collections too, more collections. We have 2 more collections that we're going to be adding to the website this week as well. So want to keep you guys up to date on that as far as allowing you guys to represent the XRP family. Appreciate you. Other than that, I will see you guys back again tomorrow. Like I said, we got the Blockchain Summit. We're going to have the Constellation Network CEO, Ben Jorgensen's going to be giving a keynote at that. So I'm going to see what he has to say, get an update out on DAG. Some of the deep dives that I'm looking to drop this week are on Flare and Zebek Network. If you haven't seen our other deep dives, you can go to my YouTube playlist, 2025 Coin Reviews. And I've looked at XCN, Stellar, Sologenic, HBAR. And the most recent one that we did is DAG. And so, be ready for that. We got some more deep dives dropping this week. And then the other thing that I'm looking to provide this weekend in our Discord weekly call is actually an update on trusts. This is going to be a tactical wealth lesson. So for my private group, I do a Discord weekly call every single week. But then I've also dropped business development content, and then tactical wealth lessons is what I call them. So the business development content, that's on business. The tactical wealth lessons, that's on wealth preservation and building. And so I'm going to be doing an updated session on trusts this weekend is the plan for that. So if you're looking to get access to that, you sign up through Patreon to get access to the Discord. Not only will you get that, but you also get weekly updates, private calls, access to me, our community, all of our other resources. And we would be, just very gracious and thankful to have your support. And we would love to welcome you in the family over there in our Discord group. With that being said, I'm going to sign off for tonight. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you for your support, and God bless you all. Thank you so much.